If you're new to the hobby and you've looked around at statue price and thought to yourself, what the freak? Like, this is so ridiculously expensive, and maybe you've also looked on the market and seen that there's cheaper versions of statues, on eBay, Wish, Mercari. So today we're going to be taking a look at an authentic version of a statue versus the recast or bootleg version of that statue. Featuring none other than Sasori and Madara. It's going to be great to be able to kind of look at the details and see why. Now, for those wondering, what happens is the authentic version comes out and some backwater studio grabs it and recasts it and makes it out of cheaper materials, usually plastic or PVC. They also don't spend a lot of time adding colors and details and putting a good paint job onto it. So that's why the quality is going to differ between the two. But at the end of the day, they come up with something that somewhat resembles the original authentic statue. Now, I want to put out as a disclaimer, I'm in no way, advocating for people to go buy these. I'm just showing you that here is what the real one looks like and here's what the fake one looks like. If by all means this one fits your budget and you like it, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm just here to showcase what these two look like side by side. I've done these series in the past, so I hope these are as enjoyable as the past ones have been. It's been a while since we've done this, but it's super cool to see really the difference between the two. So without delay, let's get on in and take a look at what these look like. On the left, we have the bootleg version, and on the right is the official by MH Studio. The packaging for it reminds me of like a gem or mega house with that window box in the front where you can see through it. And the right is a typical, resin statue box where there's some artwork all around the box. They really dress it up pretty nicely. In the spirit of making this review as swift as possible, we're going to skip the review of the resin statue and just take a look at this bootleg box. So slips right open, and then you have the standard plastic packaging with tape holding it together on the outsides. As we can see initially, one of the big differences already between the authentic and bootleg is going to be the fact that pretty much it all comes in one piece. And in fact, the base actually came disconnected for this. I don't know if that's intentional, unintentional. I do see some glue residue that's kind of hanging on the top of the base there. So my guess is this definitely was intended to be connected to the base, and it just didn't use enough glue and it fell off during the shipping process. The bottom of the base is hollow, and they used as little plastic as possible, and we can see all sorts of defects and markings from here. Again, that's mainly from the glue residue, but the plastic is definitely not clean overall. Taking a look at Madara off the bat, I mean, we can already see it's kind of strange and odd the way that all this like plastic looks together. The paint job that's done along the base is very flat and one tone. With the base out of the way, we'll take a look at the actual figure of Madara. So going up, we can already see the paint job is a little sloppy on the bottom. Nice that they added some shading on the purple parts of his outfit, and also the rope sections that hold the pieces of armor together. Nice that they did paint that. We can also see some shading on the armor as well. A lot of defects there on his war fan, so not too good there. And oof, as we turn this figure around, we can see the hair. That is not good, right? It looks like tendrils or tentacles. Everything's all fused together. No texturing at all. And then if we spin it around, the face, see, the hair just does something with the face. It does not look good. Almost like he's wearing a giant wig on there. So pretty much from the neck down, everything looks decent. But man, once you get to that head and the hair sculpt, this is not doing good. The only thing that they decided to sculpt separately is the handle, which is, I guess, odd. I don't know why they didn't just leave it on there. Maybe they did concern themselves with it breaking during transit, but that did sculpt separately, so we can just rest him on top of that base. I'm not going to bother with gluing it back on, and this just kind of fits right into the little notch that goes inside the top of the handle. So we'll set him aside, and now we have the authentic. So here is the base for that. Oh, so much depth. And even on the bottom of the statue, right? The other one was empty, plastic, nothing. We have some awesome menacing looking artwork. We have the actual edition size, so only 300 of these were made, and there's also this authenticity sticker on the bottom. If you look closely, it says MH Studio, so that's how you know it's an official product. And then if you actually notice on here, it looks like Madara's Mangekyo Sharingan, the way that it circles and the dots there, it's like a Rocky version of it as the base. As for the body, it was sculpted completely separately. The head was also done separate, as well as the war fan. So going from the bottom to the top, we can see a notch on the bottom. Man, the paint job, flawless. MH Studio does an amazing job with their statues and quality control. I mean, even look at the toes, everything painted so nicely. So there's weathering that's all throughout his armor. It kind of is sculpted very similar to the bootleg, obviously, because they copied this, but everything is just done so smoothly, so nice and clean. It looks a little strange looking at it from this angle because we didn't get to see this side before because the war fan was already on there, but there's a little hole in his back where that's going to key into later. And then looking at the top, even the purple shading that's done throughout the outfit is a little bit lighter, so it helps the armor stand out a little bit more, I think. So definitely shaded and painted a lot better as expected. And here's the war fan, which, you know, we talked about flawless paint jobs before, but my gosh, does this thing look incredible. There's the notch with the steel rod sticking out, and they actually have the handle sculpted onto here so that does not disconnect. The Tomo symbols there are perfectly done. We have that little black shading that goes around the edges to kind of bring them out and pop a little bit. But even the white wrappings on there, small marking on the back. I'm not sure if that's from me or maybe that did come from the factory, but that's probably one of the only flaws. And here is how it connects, just slides right into place. And I don't think there's any magnets, so just that steel rod that goes onto there. Yo, this is the head sculpt right here. It is incredible, right? Night and day compared to the bootleg. You can see every long strand. It's extremely pointy. You have to be careful with that. And just every single one, nothing is merged together. And if we look at the face real closely as well, there's a little bit of glossy paint over that eyeball. So that looks fantastic. The way that it brings it out makes it look a little bit more realistic or matching the show. But that's probably, you know, there's actually probably why there's some black paint on the back of the war fan is because the hair is rubbing up against it. So that's probably my error in the installation process for that. But when you get everything together, it looks amazing, fantastic, really resembles him as he was reanimated. So you've seen them up close and personal. Now let's try to grab them and get a few side by side so that we can see again the head sculpt. Man, night and day, what a difference between the two. If you love a likeness to the character, you can tell which way you're going to swing as far as which one you're going to want here, because when you get up close you can really tell the difference. Even the armor, again, there's a lot more depth added to it because they bring out those cracks and crevices from him being reanimated. The side profile again brings out how different the hair is for these two. With Madara done, we'll jump into Sasori soon, but some takeaway thoughts. You know, keep in mind that the authentic are expensive, right? They're more money. This one's sitting at about a $350 to $400 price range, but you're getting an actual, you know, limited edition product that you can resell. It holds value. Sometimes it grows in value, while the bootleg, who knows how many were made or distributed. So you know, these are kind of just a money sink, but they do act as a good placeholder, I guess, if you're trying to start your collection or just want them to look good from 5 feet away, right? Now we already saw some package comparisons for this one, so we'll skip that and jump right into seeing how these two look side by side. The authentic version of this statue is made by Recast Statue. Now this is the alternative form that you could have bought for their larger scale statue featuring him and a ton of puppets. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the bootleg here. So first off, my initial impressions is it doesn't look that bad, right? So the face is not as botched up. The hair is decently done. Zooming in, we can see a little bit of fusion going on with that hair as you get really, really close, but we can see the scrolls are in the back there that he pulls out during battle. The metallic blades we'll actually take a look at later as we compare things side by side. The base, the footprint of the base is much smaller than the authentic, if you did notice that. One thing I do love is the fact that we do see some poison dripping from that whip that comes out of his chest area. So that's a cool touch. I'm glad they did include that as well. Also, if we take a look, we can see the ring and a little bit of a purple circle on there so we can tell which one it is. And then there's the chest area with that flap open. So that's pretty well done as well. Not bad at all, but we'll set him aside, plug off the authentic. Sasori, sit him to the side, grab this base, and on the top right corner, we will first notice Recast Studio's logo, as well as the edition size on the bottom. The black and white portrait of the statue is actually what it would look like if you had the main body that's included from the main version of this statue, but on the base, so much depth and paint job going on here. This doesn't even look like the same base that's going on with the other one. So there's two rocks on here, this one and the other one over here on the right that actually pull off so that you can include the alternative body if you want to have that on there. So that's a look at the base. Looking at the main body, one of the first things I want to mention is the whip that we see on the bottom is actually made of steel. So resin is heavier and it needs to be supported properly. So the figure standing on top of it, if it was made of resin, would probably bend and warp over time. So it's actually made of steel for this one, which is pretty cool. Goes into that chest area. The pants are nicely shaded. Crazy good job with the veins coming out of that heart section with the black and red. Some good panel lining in the metallic part of the chest there as well. And then we'll spin this over to see some of the blades on the back. Really pay attention to these. It looks like actual metal, actual blades. The scrolls on this one are 2 are in the middle instead of the other one were 2 on the top and bottom. I don't know what's up with that, but that's pretty much it. The eyes are extremely cold. This is one of my most dissatisfied faces from Surge Studio. You know, he's supposed to look cold and dead and puppet-like, but this one almost looks too cold. But here are these side by side. Going to be difficult with these blades kind of getting in the way, but you can see the faces have different emotions. One looks like an actual human, while one does look like a puppet. While Surge Studios ID decals feel a little off and lifeless, it's much better than the bootleg, I think. Here's a side profile of those, and we'll also try to get a quick close-up of these blades, so it's going to be very difficult. I guess I can just show you one after the other to get a good feel for it. If we zoom in to the bootleg, you'll notice right there, gashed and jagged, almost looks like they've been used, while the one on the authentic look like they're brand new and unscathed and perfectly sharp. You know, again, look at that. It just looks so jagged and nasty. That's kind of what you get for getting a PVC cast of something versus a resin cast where they sand it and make it look really good. Well, all right, here is everybody, and you know how I feel about the authentic versus recast. Definitely, you know, I'm all for the authentic. It's an actual collector's item, but I respect those within a budget if you want to go the other route as well. But I hope you enjoyed yourself today. But hey, if you haven't seen my other ones, check out these videos here, which go over some other statues of the authentic versus recast series. As always, everybody, I'll see you in the next video. Do what you love and love what you do. Bam out.